But because they're not listed, it's going to be impossible to, bring them over.
Oh, someone, and by someone I mean Gino, has seriously messed up the visa paperwork. He didn't include Jasmine's kids on the application. It could now take years to bring them to the States. So what does this mean for Gino and Jasmine's marriage? Will she choose to stay in the States without her kids?
If I would have had both on the petition, we would have been good.
Absolutely. We could have them sitting here in 6 months.
It's a huge mistake to make, and I'm not sure if Gino and Jasmine's relationship is strong enough to get through this. But before we get to that, let's just start at the beginning. So we last saw the pair on their honeymoon camping. Romantic, right? Well, it better be, because right now Jasmine is ovulating and they're trying for a baby. Now, believe me when I say, what we see next is truly horrifying. This might just be a new low for 90 Day Fiancé. In order to get Gino in the mood, Jasmine decides to start sucking on his toes. Yeah, his dirty, unwashed camping toes. And she starts telling us how much Gino's feet turn her on.
I am obsessed with my man feet. I discovered that I have a foot fetish.
Now, there's no way that I can show you this unedited footage without my video getting taken down. But believe me, if you haven't already seen it, you don't want to watch this. It's revolting. But, and I hope you can forgive the pun, but just to give you a taste of how bad it is, Jasmine reveals and goes on to show us in great detail the specific part of Gino's foot that tastes like cheese. These disgusting shenanigans get the two of them in the mood, and when we join them the next day, they're singing from the rooftops, telling us how great last night was.
Our poor neighbors.
Wow.
But it was a very good night.
Thank you, Jesus. I'm hoping we just made a baby. I'm so excited.
Gino's excited. He seems to foolishly believe that it's gonna be that easy to get Jasmine pregnant. But the problem is, as we found out in the last episode, Jasmine hasn't told him that she might not be able to get pregnant. She's had trouble conceiving in the past, so having kids might not be possible. And yeah, that's a huge secret to keep from her husband, a man who desperately wants kids. But Jasmine is at least trying to educate Gino on how hard this will actually be. And to do that, she's using a chart.
So today, that is the next day of my ovulation, 2 fish.
Why 2 fish?
Because we have to make love twice.
Twice?
Jasmine explains that while she's ovulating, Gino has to make love to her up to 4 times a day. And he's shocked at what he's hearing. Like, we know how much he struggles just to do it once. So to do it 12 times over a 6-day period sounds like an almighty order for him. He seems pretty shocked by this. He really doesn't like what he's hearing.
Let it be natural.
It's not gonna happen naturally if we don't make love the days that I'm ovulating.
I don't want it forced like this.
We're not forcing it.
Look, I get what Gino's saying, but at the same time, he's being completely naive if he thinks that he and Jasmine don't need to plan. Even just a little bit. I mean, in his mind, Jasmine's only 36 years old, so he thinks pregnancy shouldn't be too difficult. And hearing how naive he is, Jasmine is realising that it might be time to tell him the truth about her situation, so that he starts taking it a little more seriously.
It was very hard for me to conceive my son, JC. I even had to go through hormonal treatment to get pregnant.
You never told me that before.
I get that Jasmine struggles with this, right? But the thing is, she's known from day one how important it is to Gino to have his own biological children. So it's baffling, it's horrifying that she kept this a secret. She kept this to herself so that he wouldn't leave her. But even after hearing what Jasmine has to say, Gino still isn't worried. He's still convinced that they can conceive naturally. And as they wrap up their honeymoon, Jasmine clearly has family on the mind. So she picks up the phone and calls her mum and her sister.
While I'm living in the United States, my mother and my sister are the ones taking care of my children because I wouldn't trust any other person in the world.
Wait, am I missing something here? What about the kid's father? Like, those poor kids. Just think about it. They're left with their grandmother and their aunt. Fine, I'm sure they're getting plenty of love. But it must be really confusing for them that neither of their parents, not their mum or their dad, is actively involved in their day-to-day life. That's got to be traumatic for them, right? Like, how selfish of both parents. Surely what these kids need more than anything is the stability, the love of at least one parent. It's really sad that they don't have that.
Juanse es el que está bastante triste, donde dice que no te quiere decir cuando habla contigo que está triste.
Yeah, that must be heartbreaking for Jasmine, but that is the consequence of the decision that she made. If little Juanse is already at his young age deeply conscious of what will or won't upset Jasmine, then clearly he's had to grow up much quicker than he probably should have. So Jasmine's priority needs to be to reunite with her kids ASAP.
There is no freaking way on earth I'm staying here without my kids. The only way is that I die and you have to bury me here.
But sadly, Juanse missing her isn't the only bad news on this phone call. When Jasmine asks her mum how her health is, the news isn't great. She's apparently in a lot of pain. She's feeling very low, and she has to jump off mid-call in order to go and get tests done. So after her mum has left, Jasmine asks her sister how serious it is.
Unos exámenes, dentro de eso una biopsia.
Pero niña, una biopsia es para ver si tú tienes cáncer.
Now, the tests are going to cost her mum around $800, and Jasmine immediately says that she'll ask Gino to pay for that. But Jasmine's sister goes on to clarify that the doctor is also recommending a biopsy just to rule out any possible cancer. She tells Jasmine that there's no need to be worried just yet. But naturally, when you hear news like that, your head immediately goes to the worst possible place.
Si algo sale mal con mami, y yo estoy por acá, niña, que yo ni siquiera puedo, ella sale mal, yo nunca me lo voy a perdonar, niña.
Jasmine feels guilty about being stuck in the States, but this has been a wake-up call for her. She realises that she needs to push Gino to get the ball rolling. She now desperately wants her kids to be with her. And added to that, she also needs to figure out how and if she can leave the country to go and visit her mum. But in order to be able to do that, they need some professional help. So we join Gino and Jasmine as they head out to go and see an immigration lawyer. And Gino really isn't happy about this.
If he said that we need his service or any other attorney's service, I'm sorry, but we are getting an attorney.
No, I put too much hard work into this and I've done a great job on it.
Gino, this isn't a school project. It's not about whether or not you've done a great job. If he wants a gold star or something, someone go and get him a sticker, for God's sake. I mean, the future of Jasmine's kids relies solely on this paperwork. So why is he so reluctant to hire a professional just to make sure that everything's done correctly? Well, the reason why becomes very clear when Gino says this, and it's shocking.
I want the kids here just like Jasmine does, but right now I don't have the money to pay for a lawyer to do the paperwork for her children because our wedding put us in a little bit of debt.
Oh my giddy gosh, the wedding put them in debt. That is crazy. Now, he doesn't elaborate on whether or not his savings have completely dried up, or whether it's a case that he just can't liquidate certain investments right now. But whatever the case, it's pretty crazy that Gino still hasn't started looking for work. I just don't understand how Gino and Jasmine are actively trying for a child. Gino knows he has 2 stepchildren to bring over to the States and look after, yet he's planning to do all of that without an income, without a job. So as the pair take a seat with the lawyer, Gino begins to boast about how he didn't need any help from an immigration attorney when he completed all of the paperwork alone to bring Jasmine over on a K-1 visa.
And I did all the paperwork for the petition myself. It worked out great because she's here now.
Oh, so you're a semi-expert.
Semi-expert, yeah.
Gino is really proud of his paperwork skills. Now keep this fact in mind because it becomes very important in a second. But first, Jasmine asks the lawyer just how quickly she'll be able to leave the country in order to be able to visit her sick mum. And the lawyer has some good and bad news for her.
The government says while your green card is pending, you can travel in and out of the United States.
Oh my gosh, I'm allowed then.
You are allowed.
Oh my gosh.
That's the good news.
But, the lawyer says, there's also some bad news. And the bad news is, there's currently a backlog in the processing. That means it could take as long as 8 to 12 months. And hearing that news, Jasmine shoots daggers at Gino. She doesn't care that they're in debt. Her decision is made. They're paying for a lawyer. And you've got to say, that's probably for the best, because it becomes even more necessary when the issue of her children's immigration is brought up.
So, Gino, were both the kids listed on the fiancé petition?
I did not have the children on the K-1 petition. I'm not an expert, of course.
Oh, so now you're not an expert. What happened to that semi-expert confidence that you had at the start of this meeting, Gino? Now, at this point, a lot of immigration lingo is thrown around. Gino asks the lawyer whether he can just add the kids to Jasmine's existing adjustment of status petition, even though they weren't listed on the original K-1 documents. And it's at that point that the lawyer just can't help himself.
Google didn't tell you what to do.
No, I couldn't, no.
Adjustment of status allows you to adjust a status. You have to have one before you can adjust it.
After years and years of studying and fine-tuning their craft, I completely get why any lawyer must find it so frustrating when someone like Gino rocks up to their office and thinks that they know everything. But keep in mind that the subject at hand is so serious that the lawyer's reaction almost feels mean to rub it in their faces like that. But at this point, it's very clear that something has gone terribly wrong. Jasmine has had her K-1 status adjusted, but what about her kids? Because right now, they have nothing. Gino f***ed up the paperwork. He didn't add their names to it.
But because they're not listed, it's going to be impossible to, bring them over.
The lawyer then advises them to hire his firm. He tells them that they're going to need to bring the kids over on an immigration visa now. Up until this point, Jasmine is very quiet. She hasn't said a word, but it doesn't take a genius to work out that she is furious at Gino. She can't believe just how badly he's f***ed this up. And things just get worse when the lawyer goes on to explain that the cost for dealing with this error is gonna be $5,000. That's $5,000 we now know these two don't have.
That's to represent you for the next 12 to 14 months. It's going to take a little bit longer, though.
How long is it?
Gino and Jasmine's aims, their dreams of having her kids in the States within 6 months, have now flown out of the window. What with all the paperwork, the lawyer now advises them that this could take 1.5 to 2 years to complete. And that news is devastating for Jasmine.
If I would have had both on the petition, we would have been good
Absolutely.
to go.
We could
Wow.
have them sitting here in 6 months.
At least Gino has the sense of mind not to defend himself. He knows that this is his mistake. He was the one that chose not to use a lawyer, despite Jasmine begging him to do so. And that was when he had a job. Now they're in a worse situation. The stakes are even higher because there are kids involved. And given that they're in debt, it's questionable whether or not he has the financial resources to be able to hire the lawyer. It'll be really interesting to see whether or not Gino has learnt his lesson, or whether once again he's going to try and cut costs by being a semi-expert on this project.
How am I gonna tell you that it might take even 2 years to come here?
She's just found out that her eldest son Juanse misses her terribly, that her mum is sick and that she can't leave the country for up to 12 months. And now she learns this. In the 4 months that she's been in the States already, Jasmine feels like she's missed her children growing up. She has. So just imagine how she'll feel after 2 years. I really don't think she'll be able to last that long.
I feel at this moment that I make a huge mistake. I should have never come here without my kids.
Jasmine has previously claimed that she wouldn't be able to stay in America without her kids, so I guess we're now about to see whether or not she was serious about that. I know that they say desperate times call for desperate measures, but I really hope she's not desperate enough to turn to Dane for financial help.